Oh, that's nothing.
All right, I don't see it, but we can just get started and
So,
yeah,
so it does work. So if you hit the you want to attend, it'll ask if you want to join. Tap to join.
I did.
You'll get that, and then it pops right up. So let me do because we're at 257. So let me.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Hmm.
I don't know who's there, so I can't see who's joining anyway. Can you?
Yes, we're all on and set, ready to go.
All right. All right. So hello everyone. Is this 3 o'clock? Yeah, wait. I'm gonna give it a few minutes just in case. Just in case. It's almost 3 o'clock. Give more people a chance to get in here. And I wish I could see who's all joining from my end. Is there a way I should be able to see that?
Um, you have to log in separately, but you'll see after.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
we'll give folks a few minutes to hop in.
Yeah.
Well, happy Tuesday.
Yeah. Happy Tuesday, everyone. It's
I see you have
wonderful.
a little bit of pink there in your tie.
Yeah, actually, my shirt is a very light pink here, but it's just not coming across the way I would like to. So,
Okay.
oh well. So the tie will have to do, and my little wristband here. So,
Oh, there we go. There we go.
yeah.
You get credit. You get credit.
So yeah, I didn't know you didn't like pink. So,
No, I was never a fan of pink. And then just my luck, I was diagnosed with breast cancer like right at the beginning of October, 3 years
oh
ago.
wow.
So it was like pink everywhere, ribbons everywhere, and it was a tough time. But 3 years later, I'm okay with pink.
Yeah.
I'm okay with. I wore a pink suit yesterday to my friend's wedding.
Oh, very very nice.
Yeah, I'm okay with it. It's digestible now.
All right. Good. Good. So me too. It took me a while to get used to wearing pink because I didn't buy it, didn't wear it before. So now I have to continue to build up my wardrobe with it. So we'll see. Um, well, welcome everyone. It is 3 o'clock here on the West Coast. If you're on the East Coast, I guess it's like 6 o'clock there. So welcome aboard and for joining us here. I am Damon Hawkins. I am the president of the Eugene Springfield NAACP. This is in Eugene, Oregon. We operate out of the historic Mims House here, which is right behind me, the first Black-owned home in Eugene, Oregon. So a great piece of history here for us. I am also an ambassador for the Men Wear Pink. This year, I am, there to raise about $10,000 this year for the breast cancer research and support that they provide there. So this is somewhat of a plug as well as I have a QR code in the top right hand corner or left hand corner, depending on where you are, and a little scrolling thing at the bottom there talking about it as well. My been in healthcare for about over 20 years now, and healthcare has really been an important part of my life. The work I do, even with the NAACP, we have a huge health committee that constantly is working on healthcare, health disparities. We did a anti-racism training a couple of years back for providers that really went well. Um, and as we get into this time of year with breast cancer awareness month, and NAACP being the supporter of this and sponsor for me doing this year, I really wanted to focus on health equity and breast cancer there, and how that is inflecting women of color, particularly African American communities. So I have with me one of my favorite people here, one of my colleagues, Jennifer Johnson. There, we worked in back in the day in corporate pharmacy together, and she is one of the most amazing people that I know. She is a strong and just go getter and collaborator. Always been that way from day one. I always loved working with her and just her energy. Um, we went, our different ways in healthcare, and ended up reconnecting about maybe 2 years, 3 years ago now. And where I was starting to be my first time I was going around being an ambassador for Men Wear Pink. And she was just finishing up, her fight with breast cancer and really becoming that breast cancer survivor. Which, again, if you know Jennifer, you knew she was going to be a survivor. She is, spent her career as a digital healthcare in digital health operations there. Like I said, just a collaborator, a leader, a team player. Um, she's been in health equity for this work. Not only that, but health equity for breast cancer, and just a coach as well when it comes to your health and training, and of course the founder of Gen J Health. She is truly a rock star in this, and this is why I couldn't think of anyone better to really have this live with today. So Jennifer, welcome.
Thank you, Demond. That was a really nice intro. You all say such nice things. I appreciate the opportunity to really partner with the NAACP as well as your initiative with when Men Wear Pink. I appreciate the wearing of the pink. I know we talked about that briefly before we went on live. I'm not a huge fan of pink, but it's starting to warm up to me a little bit. So I appreciate the just being an ambassador and really your initiative to raise this money for American Cancer Society for the research. It is so important. It's very near and dear to my heart. And I mean, as a survivor, but also similar to you, I spent my whole career in healthcare, but particularly around digital health solutions, but as it relates to access and equitable care for everyone, it's always been my mission. But now, coming off the heels of this diagnosis and finishing treatment, like it's really become my purpose. So I'm thankful to be here to have this conversation with you.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thanks for being here today. You know what? We're gonna take this a little light, so we're gonna just kind of dig into this a little bit because I want them to get to know you as well. Um, so, so tell me what got you interested in working in healthcare.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, I've always been in healthcare. Prior to working in corporate pharmacy, I worked in pharmacy, ironically in oncology pharmacy and private provider practices, managing pharmacies before starting my corporate career in corporate pharmacy, and then going on to work in digital health solutions. Also in an oncology space for data products and innovation. So really that intersection of technology and healthcare, like bridging the gaps, whether it's access, equity, whatever that is, but using technology to do that. So I spent, I mean, pretty much my entire career doing so. And I always felt like it was a place for me. It wasn't until I was like diagnosed with breast cancer 3 years ago that I was like, oh no, this is really for me. So, but God really set me up because I had so much information and knowledge and education in this space, which led me to do my own self exams and being in my 30s and having that, I knew that wasn't supposed to be there. And I was able to advocate for myself to get a mammogram, even though it wasn't recommended till I was 40. But that really initially, like I say, it saved my life because I was able to advocate for myself. And I knew I had a good network in oncology because of my career. Because I was able to do that. I was diagnosed at stage 1, which if you're going to be diagnosed, like that's one of the best ways to go. And I do credit that early detection for saving my life. So my career really set me up for that. And I'm forever thankful, which is why on the other side of this, my purpose really is to give back and make sure that everyone has access to the equitable care that I had access to.
Yeah. So you talked about how you, well, I guess, so how did you found out from your own self exam, right?
Yes.
Um, that one you had to take that to your, to your doctor, and did they want to give you an exam at that point, or because you didn't fit the criteria for the time frame, right?
Yeah. So the type of breast cancer that I have was triple negative. So which means there's no positive receptors. And so for all three, it's progesterone, estrogen, HER2, negative, negative. So it sounds like triple negative sounds good, but it's not. It's the worst, the highest, most aggressive. But it's also most prevalent in young women and women of color. And I didn't know that, at the time of diagnosis, but I did know when I found my lump that it wasn't supposed to be there because I knew my body and I knew that, it wasn't there. And so when I went in to speak with my provider, I already had a great relationship with my provider, just because I understand health and access and preventative care. So I think that helped. But then also when I really pushed back to say, no, yeah, I don't have a history that I know of, but I know that's not supposed to be here. And so I also know the words to say to make sure that I was able to get the mammogram. So saying that, this is abnormal and like, really putting those words into play really helped me to advocate to get the mammogram, even though, I wasn't necessarily recommended at the time. And so thankfully, there was a backup at the time. This was like in the middle of COVID. So it was in 21 and there was a backup because people hadn't had him for a while. They're just not getting back in. And so she was like, just go down there and see if you can get squeezed in. So I went downstairs and I was like, I'll just wait. And I also have like dense breasts. So of course the mammogram wasn't very helpful. So that's another thing, like women of color also are more likely to have dense breasts. And which is why now I get 3D mammograms, but I didn't know at the time. So when I got the mammogram, there was something there they couldn't really tell. So I got, scheduled for ultrasound and things went really quickly. And I was able to really call in favors from like some nurse practitioners I work with, some oncologists I worked with over the years. And I got things rolling really fast. Genetic testing, I knew all the things, thanks to, I was surrounded by like a great group of colleagues and that had become friends over the years. So that really helped me to get things going quickly and to identify it. So I found my lump on like the 23rd of September. I had a biopsy like the 27th, and I had my genetic testing like probably like 2 weeks later. And then by November, like Friday, that's my birthday, I'm in a chair getting chemo. So it went boom, 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 boom. And so I'm so thankful that, I had the network that I had, the knowledge that I had, and also access to really great healthcare at the time as well. But I also, I'm grateful, but I also understand that I'm privileged to know that everyone does not have that.
Yeah.
And so I think with that, I just owe it to the rest of society to make sure that the rest of my work here on earth is delivering that to everyone, to make sure that's in the hands of everyone um, that needs it.
So what was the journey like then, as far as like, that getting through that process was, how that feel, and were there things that you discovered along the way? Because you are right, you are very
Yeah.
privileged being in the space and you understood what words to say and the mechanism of things, but were there some things that were eye opening?
Absolutely. I think for me, one of the things that was eye opening to me was learning about triple negative breast cancer, even though I had literally worked in oncology practice for like drawing up chemo, like I did all the things earlier in my career. And I worked in oncology for probably 7 years before going into corporate. I didn't know much about triple negative breast. I hadn't really heard much about it. So to dive into it, I was really surprised that the drugs I was drawing up 20 years ago, almost, I mean, I started working when I was 9. So
Yeah.
the drugs I was like drawing up 20 years ago, those were drugs I was getting. I was like, there's no way that there's no newer drugs. So these were old and generic then. So I'm like, these are the same old drugs. And so I got all the stuff like the adriamycin, the Cytoxan, the old stuff, but the hard stuff. And because triple negative doesn't have any targeted therapy or not at the time, that was a protocol, just to give you everything, that and radiation and all the things. So that was eye opening to me, and I was like, "There's no way." And I worked, with oncology data, real evidence studies, and I knew all the new innovative treatments that were out there for other diseases, and so I was like so surprised that there was nothing better for me. So that was the first eye opening thing. The second thing is, in addition to being, under 40 in my 30s still, I was also probably like, the fittest I've ever been in my life. Like I'm a hiker, I'm a runner, I'm a fitness coach. Like I do all the things. And like, I'm that person, like I'm gonna call you on Saturday morning, like, let's go on a 10-mile hike because it's a beautiful day. And that's what I do. Right. And some people hate me for it. Some people love me for it, but that's me. And so I would have never thought that the lifestyle that I was leading would lead me to this. So that was also another eye opener. And then the other one was when I started digging, doing deep dives into the studies and really like trying to have a say so in the treatment that I'm getting and the plan I'm going to go on, was that the statistics, learning that 40% of Black women die from breast cancer, and looking into like, why is that? Like, what did I do? And like I didn't really have it in my family, so I'm like that really, that was like eye opening for me. And then in addition to that, it's like, okay, digging into like, why is it like 40% more likely? And a lot of it has to do with the fact that triple negative breast cancer disproportionately affects Black women, and because it is usually something that we get early on in life, like in our 20s and 30s. We usually get diagnosed at later stages, which then leads to worse outcomes, which leads to the higher mortality rates. And so I was like, wow, so another gratitude. I was so thankful that I found it, and then also so privileged to know, like, wow, like I really like dodged the bullet. Like God gave me an extension on life, but I really feel like that's why I know like this. I need to continue to do this work, but that was like really surprising to me. But I was thankful to be able to have a really good care team that listened to me, and I'm sure I got on their I had all kind of studies like, listen, I want to do this. I want to be able to work out. So I have all these like listed like things I need to do. And luckily my team was like, they really work with me, and I'm sure I got on their nerves, but they work with me, and I was able to really make the journey my own, and really sit in the space. I didn't share with a lot of people when I was going through it, because I really need to digest it for myself and feel the things and journal and all, all that. But, I did, while I was going through, I made a promise to God. I was like, okay, when I finish, I will scream to the heavens about, to anyone that listened. But while I'm going through, I really needed just to have that time to like really process what this was, and then, develop a plan that was great for me to come out on the better other side of this.
So, and by the way, that is amazing, and amazing mental health through that, right? Just understanding that you needed that space. So, kudos to you, and kudos to you advocating for all the other things to do, whether it be exercise or just, hey, can we try this, and just challenging your care team to see what's going to be that perfect plan for you. Um, One of the things that I immediately thought about as I became an ambassador for Men Wear Pink is, I was like, well, there's an access to care problem. There's access. And so as I talked to organizations in town, because there are fewer imaging centers in town, but they were telling me they're not behind, right? They can get people in. So this may not be necessarily an access to imaging, but maybe a fear of getting screened, or a fear of following that next step. And I wonder if that may be, and the barriers are like, there are many, and they're layered through, for, whether it be, systemic, systemic racism, or, just, all type of other social determinants of health that may, put people in different areas, whether it be environmental, whatnot. But even beyond those things, accessing care, how do you, you did a self test, right, first, and is that something we should be advocating more for with the younger women of color? Should we talk about it more? I mean, because I didn't know until I got into this space about breast cancer that, well, not only are we dying from breast cancer, but we're dying at a higher rate from breast cancer,
Mhm.
right? No one talks about getting screened. I started thinking about you and thinking about other friends of mine that I knew in my circle that have had breast cancer. And when they said 1 in 8, it started coming clear to me that they're all in my circle. We just don't talk about it enough.
Right. Yes.
So, are there, so are on as far as barriers, is the barriers part of that communication? How do we communicate to make it a something that it's like we talk about mental health being self care. This really is self care as well. Like, how do we get
Absolutely.
more women of color to see it that way? And that's just part of the process.
Absolutely. That's a great point. And like, as you mentioned, it's 1 in 8 women that will be diagnosed with breast cancer, and we all know 8 women, right? And so, like you said, if we're just not talking about it, then that's like where some of it happens. So that's where we need to raise awareness. So I am thankful for the pink in October, just for that reminder. But raising awareness to, one, do self exams, because we know our bodies better than anyone else, right? No, better than the doctor, better than a mammogram. Like, we know that is something supposed to be there or not. So knowing your normal, doing your exams every month, knowing how to do that, and then opening up the conversation, right? To say, like, it should be something that's talked about. Like, we're gonna make sure we get our hair done and our nails done, but we also make sure we checking our breasts, we're doing all these things. And even as a fitness coach, and I work with women in the fitness industry, like women will be like, I need to lose 10 pounds, or I need to gain some muscles or tone up, or whatever that is. But are we also making sure that we have a relationship with our doctor? We're doing our regular breast exam every month, and just make it a part of our regular routine. And it's like so much so that it's something that we just talk about on a regular basis, because that's what's really going to save us, right? That early detection. And even if you're getting a mammogram once a year, you still should be checking, right? Every month, just to make sure that you're okay. And so I think raising awareness is a good reminder. And even like I mentioned, even if it's the color pink, whenever you see the color pink, remind yourself, did I do my exam this month? Or make it a regular time every month that you're actually doing these exams, and opening the conversation with your provider, having that relationship with them as well. So before anything happens, right? And then for me, I have daughters, and I make sure that they know my history. And I quiz them on it. Like, what type of cancer did I have? What stage was it? How, like all the things. So they can go to their gynecologist and say, listen, I have this, and it's something that I need to be looking at, and being proactive with, right? And sharing that with their friends and letting them know, and so on and so on, because we need to, be vocal about it, but also make sure that we're sharing across our families internally, but also externally in the community, so that there's education on it as well as awareness. And when it comes to access, like I know you mentioned that they said, like, the scans aren't backed up. There's, you can go, but sometimes cost could be a barrier, right? So making sure there's coverage for this, it's included in preventative. And then even with scans, I'm in the Bay Area, which is, I would say, probably very progressive when it comes to healthcare, and especially digital health and solutions. But I just recently got a 3D mammogram center, like, that's close enough for me to go to, right? So 3D mammograms is really recommended for women with dense breasts, and because otherwise, you really can't see the cancer, because it looks like the density of your breast. So having that just happened for me, like probably a couple months ago. They just got that center open. So and we're here. So I think access is one, having it in a place where you can get to it locally. You have transportation to get there, but also costs, right? And it's covered, whether you're on like a Medicaid or Medicare or private insurance. These are covered, but then are also encouraged for women to be proactive with their care on this.
So, you mentioned the dense breast, and this is kind of like off topic there. So, in a self exam, will someone be able to know that they have that, or was that something they need to go to the
Yeah,
doctor
no,
with?
you wouldn't know until you get your scan. like I didn't even know what it was until like they like told me. But when you look at it, if you get a chance to like kind of Google like an image, you'll see like what a dense breast looks like. It in an image, it's like a lot of white, which also what cancer looks like. So if you put a cancer there, like a lump that has this cancer is, and it'll be covered by the density of the breast, so you really can't see it. So that's why it's important to get the 3D mammograms or ultrasound after the mammogram, just to make sure, which is what I had to do when I was first diagnosed, because I couldn't really tell. Like they can see something there, but it was like my breasts were so dense they really couldn't tell. So the ultrasound was definitely necessary. But now with a 3D scan, it's much better. So the technology is, caught up. I'm thankful for that. And also like make sure women know like that's something that's covered, right, with most insurance. If you have dense breasts, then you can ask for a 3D mammogram up front, so you don't have to go through the steps to get a regular mammogram. It still is not very comfortable, but it does its job.
So when we think about health equity and the issues with it, so we can kind of see where when we're navigating from an access issue. Um, are there issues on the system side of things or on the healthcare side of things itself? So cost is kind of one of them, but even with the manufacturers and things like that, are there things that are maybe that we still need to catch up with to kind of bring that equity into it when it comes to breast cancer?
Yeah, I mean, access, of course, right? Whether it's cost or just proximity. In addition to that, I think just having more providers of color, scientists, right? And then also like just working with pharma for diversity in clinical trials. Like right now, I believe Black women make up around like 5% of clinical trials, like the last I checked or something like that. But it doesn't represent what the population looks like. So it's a double-edged sword, right? So we know that Black women are more likely to have triple negative breast cancer, but then they're not really included in clinical trials. They're not part of the advancement of medicine. So, maybe, so the likelihood of you still getting these old drugs that don't really target anything or continue because it's a cycle, right? So
Right.
it's really opening up those channels to really get into the community, to educate, to share, and really advocate for more diversity in clinical trials to help advance medicine for all.
So, oh man, we are with the time really quickly here.
Yeah, right.
Uh,
Time flying by.
I know that means it was a good conversation. Um, so, if you had a magic wand and you could fix, these equity issues when it comes to breast cancer or healthcare in general, like what would you use that wand to do?
So, of course, I'm in digital health, so I love the technology, but using technology to help bridge some of these gaps. But one of the main points is providing equitable care for all. So having access to health insurance for preventative measures for everyone, and then also an opportunity, whether it's like via telehealth or just even if you're in rural towns, to have access to a provider that's close proximity to you in some way where you can stay connected that way. And then the additional piece is this education on what that looks like, particularly around right now. I kind of feel like our healthcare system is really about sick care, but really getting into the health and wellness piece of it. I know you mentioned mental health, the importance of, being on top of our mental health, whether it's speaking with a therapist or having community to engage with, but also from an educational perspective, understanding what does it mean to eat healthy? What does that look like on my plate? And also like what does it mean to be a part of a clinical trial? Like, so all these things, like having the education, having the access, having the information, but then also having the providers in the space to care for the people that need the care right away. That's a lot, but if you have a wand, you can just, so we don't have a wand, but we do have a lot of great people in the health space that are really trying to tackle these problems in different pockets. So the last one for me would be to help bridge some of those gaps, to bring me more of those organizations together to work together to help with these issues.
So, you know, so being a lot of times I see see community-based organizations as really those that help fill in gaps in a lot of ways. Um, is there things that community-based organizations can start maybe adding to their teams and workforce to maybe do those things. I also, last thing that, and then we'll try to take questions if there's some left. But I'm sorry, I'm dominating the space here. Um, but Also, like that mental health piece and just having that space for, or infinity spaces for people to be able to have those conversations about, cancer, breast cancer. In a private conversation we had, I remember you telling me that you had to go cross country just to engage with an organization that was a support group like that. And I was just wondering, is there ways that, even in our community-based organization space, that we can start really trying to help with those things?
Yeah, I think that's one way. The organization that I really work with a lot is called Touch, Black Breast Cancer Alliance, and they're based out of DC, and they have a lot of virtual events. And I was so thankful to be able to find an organization that had the information for me, a group of people that look like me, and like the things that they really go where women pray, slay, eat, like they're all over, right? Really sharing about it, and I think really partnering with organizations like that is very helpful. Virtual is not always ideal, but it's better than nothing, right? And so having things locally, whether it's at the, oncology centers or at churches, or even, at a parade or a festival, just being out there and getting it into the community and letting them know that there are, some organizations out there, but I think having more outreach, I think, and connecting with the community in other ways would be helpful. Because a lot of times, unless you have breast cancer or someone, but you're not really looking for those type of organizations. But if they're already embedded in the community and the day-to-day things that we do, it's easy to have somewhere to go to when those things come up, or just to help out or learn and be an advocate for yourself. So that way you're not in that situation. So I think that community engagement is key, no matter what work you're doing, just staying really in touch with the community that you're working for.
I thank you for the great answers there. So I cannot see our chat at all, so I don't know if we have a people in it that may have questions. If you do have something you would like to ask or a comment, I see there was a couple of comments that came through. Just thanking you for sharing your story, and just that you are educating your daughters on that as well. So definitely really appreciate that. Oh, question came through is, what are some of the protocol tips or advice I can do as a man to support my loved ones, like my mom, aunties, that might not know much about dealing with breast cancer?
I think that'd be a great question for you to answer. I think Men Wear Pink is doing a great job of that.
Yeah, no. Well, as an advocate, we really just want to make sure we're encouragers, right? To get screened. That's one of the biggest things. I like simply. I just thought about it as myself. I'm a man in my 50s, and I remember, being told, early 40s, that I had to go get my colorectal cancer screening, and I knew it for like 3 years before I actually went and did it. And when I did it, all I could think about was, what if, what if, and thinking that I didn't want to know, but now I got to know, and what am I going to do? So just, you're realizing that, you're mortal, and something could happen, right? But that is how, that is really, it is self-care, right? And so just getting our family to understand that, you're going to support them through this, but we have to do that self-care. We have to go do those screenings, and we also have to, sometimes advocate for them in those spaces, because they may not know, particularly sometimes with our elders. They're not used to, speaking up for themselves with providers, and maybe asking that extra question or knowing what to ask. So sometimes it's just that extra support and being with them.
Yeah, and I would add also, men also have breasts, although
Yes.
they're, the statistics are not as wide range for men, but it does. There's actually a population of men that are affected by breast cancer as well. So that's also something to keep in mind. I think Matthew knows, he's also a breast cancer survivor, and he shares a lot about his story. So I think it's important that we remember that too. It's anyone with breast. They, we all, if you have them, they can kill you if they're not healthy. So
Very, very nice. Well, if there is not any more questions, or if there's another question, I'm going to give it a second or two for it to get there. Um, Jennifer, I really appreciate this. You know, um, the characteristics, your characteristics, and other friends of mine that have dealt with breast cancer that are survivors are very similar. And and I'm just really appreciate how you guys are really activists and really advocates for those uh, with breast cancer, dealing with breast cancer, and those in our community, right? Just making sure you're giving back. So thank you. Is there anything else that that you would like to share from your end there for us?
just a reminder to check your breast. It is very important every month.
So awesome.
That's if you didn't remember anything I said, remember that. Check them.
That's right. Well, in that case, everyone, I appreciate you for joining us today. If you came late, this will be a recording. I think we'll have it on, if I can figure out StreamYard much better. It will be on YouTube for us later. Those, again, really am trying to raise money for breast cancer in Breast Cancer Awareness Month. This is the time to have those conversations and also donate for the research and the support that they give from the American Cancer Society. Um, so, please, give support here for my campaign here, or just in general, if need be. Like, this is not that's it doesn't necessarily have to be me. Just make sure you're supporting this, because again, a 1 in 8, that's really close. That's in your circle. That is not outside your circle. So thank you all very much. I appreciate you taking time to join us today. Jennifer, I thank you for sharing with us today, and hope to have you back for some other things in person here in Eugene, Oregon, with the NAACP. And thanks again for your time.
All right. Thank you. Have a good one.
And